The Atlantic County Board of Chosen Freeholders provided in the following manner: published in the press of Atlantic City, to the Current, the Journal, Hamilton Gazette, and News, and been posted on the bulletin boards in the county office building in Atlantic City, here at the Stillwater building in the county clerk's office in Mays Landing. Okay, we will remain seated for a moment of silence. Very unfortunately, our staff person, Yagoda Cox's father, passed away, John Pepic. We will have a moment of silence. Deepest sympathies.
Moment of silence for Dara Banks, the daughter of Robert and Cheryl Banks.
Okay, moment of silence. Okay, thank you all. Now a prayer. Oh, Heavenly Father, we pray for the strength and courage to work for a world of peace and understanding, for new visions and truth, and a new service to our fellow man. Grant unto all assembled here health and happiness. Let thy blessings rest upon us. Amen. We'll remain seated for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
liberty,
and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Bennett. Here. Bertino.
Here.
Corsi.
Present.
Days.
Here.
Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
Kern.
Here.
Inslee.
Here.
And Formica.
Here. Freeholders, we've all been provided with a copy of our minutes from April 7. We were all present. If you've had a chance to review them, I will take any comments, corrections, or additions. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Bennett.
Yeah.
Bertino.
Yes.
Corsi.
Yes.
Days.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick. Gatto. Gatto.
Yes, sorry.
Kern.
Yes.
Risley.
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes. All right. Our first order of business is going to be a COVID-19 update with Pat Diamond, our Atlantic County Public Health Officer. Pat, are you out there?
She's on.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. A couple of things that I was asked to outline. Just thought I would give you some numbers as reported by Linda Gilmore earlier today, that we have a total wide county case number of 1,860 with 121 deaths, unfortunately. But I'm pleased to announce that we actually are upwards to 588 individuals that have been cleared, that they are free of symptoms and they are free from isolation. We've also tested close to 1,500 individuals at our drive-through sites in Hamilton Township with a positivity rate of 26%. Statewide positivity rate as of today was 35%. But also, regarding Atlantic City's testing site, they've tested over 200 people with a positivity rate of 22%. So they're both lower than the statewide average. Regarding the long-term cares, unfortunately, we, as in other areas throughout the nation, are experiencing outbreaks in those facilities. And we currently have about 20 long-term cares, both assisted living and nursing homes. We have many, many cases, and most of our deaths are associated with long-term care. To address this, the State Department of Health, the governor and commissioner has mandated that each of the long-term cares must have a plan to test not only their patients, but their staff as well. And that'll give them a handle on actually who is positive and who needs to be separated to protect those that are negative. The problem is with COVID-19 is that unfortunately you could be asymptomatic but still have the ability to spread the virus. We have heard that most of our nursing homes are in compliance. They have to submit something today attesting to the fact that they have amended their outbreak plan to include a chapter of COVID-19, which requires testing of staff and residents. And by May 26th, 1 week from today, they have had to start implementing testing. Regarding migrant farms, we still have not received a plan from the state yet. We have 82 farms in the county. We've developed educational materials or actually looked at what was available on CDC website, and we'll be distributing posters this week to each of the farms. They're going to be in Spanish, English, and Creole. And it's basically just some fundamental things with pictorial guides. Cover your cough if you sneeze, cover your mouth if you cough or sneeze, wash your hands frequently, stay home if you're ill. And we have also a distance poster as well, emphasizing to keep 6 feet apart. We did a survey on our private providers, pharmacies, to determine who actually is offering testing, and a few are, and in hopes that we'll all come on board. The governor plans to have 50 CVS pharmacies open up for testing. He's not sure where they're going to be. Right now, they plan to be drive-through. We're not sure if any of them are going to be in our county. A couple of urgent cares are testing, and the Freeholder Health Center in Atlantic City is testing, and Southern Jersey Family Medical Center will be coming on board soon. And we are developing educational materials as far as a newsletter that we're going to be sending out to all the towns, just emphasizing some updates on COVID-19 and where to get some more information. I do continue to direct you to the State Department of Health's website for update information on numbers, and that's their New Jersey Department of Health dashboard, which you actually can reach through our aclink.org page as well. It'll direct you to there. So the justice facilities, I think they were actually going to be getting some information regarding testing and how that would work as far as it would be a joint effort between the county and state. I'm not sure the status of that. So, you know, if I can answer any questions anyone may have.
Pat, Frank, Formica, I got a question. Some individuals have asked if we have a list of either commercial urgent cares that will offer testing to individuals that don't have prescriptions.
There's a link on the State Department of Health website called COVID Information Hub, and it has been there for quite a while. And it makes a distinction of community sites and private provider sites. And on each of those sites, it outlines exactly what the criteria is for testing.
Well, the question was that in Marmora, there is, I was told that it is well known that you can just walk in and be tested because you feel like you want to protect yourself. Do we know of any such sites in Atlantic County?
As far as our survey, we have not revealed any of those. We've not determined any of those sites. It's symptomatic with a prescription. hopefully as testing expands, then, we're going to be able to do that. We'll see that more and more. But that urgent care in Memora has been really doing that for quite a while. So that's why we're surveying. Are you testing, or, what is your criteria? Do you plan to test, and, acquiring that information as we go along?
The next question that I got from some constituents were, do we have enough PPE to pass around through the county?
As far as PPE, that gets distributed to the Office of Emergency Management. And I think Michael is on the call if he wants to entertain that question.
I don't know if Michael's
on
with
the
us.
phone right now.
Yeah, I see him. He's up. Yeah, okay. I guess we can find that out later.
Yeah, but our testing site, we have enough. I mean, we're required to have PPE in the form of a gown and gloves, face mask and surgical mask. Some of our workers that are actually from Shore Memorial and Atlanticare bring their own N95s. So we do have enough PPE available to conduct our testing.
And we have enough PPE for our own employees, right? In different departments.
As far as I know, we do. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in.
Yes, I think the one issue I think has been gowns. Spoken to Diana and Palma Conover, and Palma said that they expect some gowns to come in this week. But Mike is on, so Mike can talk more about PPE that they get, around the county.
Yeah, we get the equipment from the state, and we give it to first responders. We're getting 300 sets next week. I'm sorry, 600 and 300. I think are going to Meadowview, and the other 300 are going to go to some of the other first responders. So we're getting stuff in, but it's not slow, but we're not getting a lot at one time.
So Mike, my question is, the state is distributing to the counties PPE, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're saying it's not coming in fast enough?
No.
Did the state give you a reason why it's not coming in fast enough?
Well, I think no, but I think because it's in such demand. I mean, we're getting it. We got a big truckload about 2 weeks ago that we're giving out, but it's coming in, but it's not. It's not as quick as we would like it to be, but we're getting it.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of frustration about the difference between North Jersey and South Jersey, and I just find it a little strange that the state is, maybe holding back on sending some stuff south because, we're not as serious and as intense as they are for that situation, but they don't seem to be listening on opening up businesses.
Yeah, we're getting it. We're getting it.
Okay. Any other Freeholder questions or comments?
I have a question.
Freeholder Fitzpatrick, please.
Thank you. Pat, did I hear correctly that we're waiting for guidance from the state and are not doing testing at the jail until we receive that guidance?
They were reviewing the process. It's considered one of the populations to test, one of the vulnerable populations, along with long-term care facilities. And they were working on a plan to roll that out.
Do we know when that will be?
I haven't heard any definitive time.
Okay, thank you.
Freeholder Corsi.
Chairman, my question is directed to Pat, if I may. Pat, somebody's got a bad echo. Maybe you need to put your phones on mute. Pat, my question is directly to you. Are you aware of the 3 o'clock conference call tomorrow with the Commissioner of Health?
She had invited me, but I wasn't aware of the time, so thank you. I was invited, and I did acknowledge that I would be available for a call, but this is the first I'm hearing the time, so thank you.
It's 3 o'clock, and the reason I'm asking you, Carl Reeves had just called me and asked if I could reach out to you, if you could call him. They have some specific questions they have for you. If you can call him and get done today, he'll be able to give you the information for the 3 o'clock call, and we'll, it's a number of us on that call tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Sure. I do have gathering some information as far as the number of positives and the number of tests that were done in Atlantic City.
Just for my city, we extended another 30 days. It is scheduled to end in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to part of the conversation tomorrow. Commissioner of Health. We can't thank Pat and the county health department for all the assistance they're giving us in this effort to get people tested. And that we still have more people going to the walk-up sites than we have for the drive-up. So we're going to take the walk-up sites, increase 3 days a week, and the drive-up site is going to be 1 day. And it seems to be working. We'll see what we do tomorrow with the community, but reach out to him before the day is out. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Freeholder Corsi, your echo is pretty good. See if you can adjust your audio. Every other word is going in and out. I don't know what it is.
How about now, Chairman?
A lot better. A lot better.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other Freeholder questions?
Chairman, just a quick comment to Pat Diamond. Pat, I heard you say something about a newsletter that's going to be going out to the municipalities, and I think that's a really great idea. Just hoping the freeholders can get copied on that whenever they get sent out as well.
Sure, we're just editing it. We send it a newsletter out quarterly, and of course, the focus of this is all COVID-19. And then if the information, it looks good, it's reviewed, then we get it translated also in Spanish. And we not only send it out to the municipalities, but we send it out to our public health partners, federally qualified health centers, and it also has a blurb in there about census as well. So it is pretty complete.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other Freeholder questions?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question for Pat.
Freeholder Risley.
Thank you. Pat, do you have any information as an overview of our local hospitals as how they're doing?
They're actually they're seeing, of course, more long-term care patients because they are being received from the long-term care units to be cared for, because a lot of them need intensive care, but they're able to maintain PPE and care. They're also going to be starting up on some elective surgeries starting on May 26th. And the two individuals, the teams of Shore Memorial and Atlantic Care that we are using for our drive-through, they're now going to be diverted back to the hospitals to assume their roles in surgery. So we are actually soliciting our Medical Reserve Corps volunteers and perhaps a private provider to help us at the drive-through, but they're doing okay. And also the field hospital in Atlantic City is also up as well to receive overload for, say, convalescent COVID-19 as well. So that is functioning.
Mr. Chairman, you have to take it off of mute because I think Freeholder Risley's trying to say something.
Okay. Anyone in the public wish to speak? Oh, Freeholder Risley, did you want a question?
No.
Okay.
Freeholder Days, I think, had a question.
Yes, Freeholder Days.
Yeah, Pat, I was contacted by a couple of the directors of the long-term care facilities, and I just, out of my curiosity, some of them were concerned that Cooper Medical Center was working with some other long-term cares, and ones more down here, I guess, in Atlantic County, were left to pay out of their own pocket, come up with their own plan, and I really didn't have much guidance from the state. Do you know if Cooper is still involved in working with the long-term care facilities, specifically in Atlantic County? Secondly, have they all been able to submit a plan?
They are required to submit plan. That's regulation. As far as the involvement of Cooper Hospital, initially it was an point prevalence study, and that's the name of it. And they selected a few nursing homes in each of the southern counties. Those with basically were starting out with few cases, and they wanted to find out if the level of asymptomatic versus symptomatic individuals that tested positive for COVID-19. So it was a pilot test program, and they found out that there were many individual residents that were asymptomatic, exhibited no symptoms. So that's where they fanned it out and now are requiring all nursing homes to test as a requirement. The reason why Cooper was involved, they were selected by the State Department of Health to get involved in its pilot project. But there was only about 5 or 6 in our county. There were several in other counties as well. But based on the information that they found, they said we need to move forward and require all nursing homes to do testing so that people that are negative can be protected against symptomatic and asymptomatic that test positive. Because as you know, this population is very vulnerable. Why they were selected, it was really up to the state to determine that.
Okay. Thank you. I guess the other concern was that they were told they had to test, and it's up to them to hire a private company. A lot of them had labs that they were using for all different testing, as a matter of due course. But they didn't really have a lot of guidance. The state told them you had to come up with a plan, but this woman in particular wasn't really sure what was being required other than they had to be tested. So is there a lot of communication that's been open since last week, or?
Well, there was actually a series of questions, frequently asked questions that were distributed to all long-term cares that answered questions that they may have. And there was also a link at the resource link if they had any further questions. One being if they had difficulty in being able to test, where they could link up with an agency to perform that testing. But that was pretty complete. I mean, they were sent it out separately, and health departments were sent it too. So if they've got a question, if it's not answered there is a link where they can make that connection.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Sorry.
Sure.
Okay. Any other Freeholder comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just one for Pat.
Freeholder Bettino.
Thank you. Pat, I had a constituent who asked me for a person that has been tested for the virus and is asymptomatic. Can they still, after the 2-week time period, be able to spread the coronavirus to someone else?
Well, if they're asymptomatic and they test positive, okay, they need to be isolated for 10 days. Okay, yes, and they could, because they may be becoming infectious and spreading that virus. That's why they need to be isolated, but they also need to be aware if they develop symptoms to take care of themselves, to try to, they can separate themselves from other people, in their home. And it's a little confusing when you're test positive, you're not quarantined, you're actually isolated, because through studying, they recognize even though you're asymptomatic, the virus could appear within 10 days of that test. However, if you expose someone that hasn't been tested, they're quarantined for 14 days because that's how long it takes for symptoms to develop or for you to become positive. So it's not an easy thing, and we have to actually sometimes go over it in our own minds every now and then to get it straight. But yeah, with their own protection and protection of everyone else, they need to be isolated if they test positive for COVID-19 for 10 days.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other Freeholder comments? Okay. Any questions from the public concerning this? No questions?
No question.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Pat. We appreciate all the information you gave us and all the questions you answered.
Okay, thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is also a report on economic development.
Now I can't hear.
I'm here. Can you see me?
Yes, Howard Kyle.
And Lauren Moore is also here?
Yes, I am, Howard.
Yes, he is.
Well, thank you. I was asked to come here today, or we were asked to come here today, just give an update on how we're responding economically to the pandemic. And as you know, it's just as much an economic crisis as it is a public health crisis. And also, a couple of points I want to stress. It's also a very fluid situation. So we are constantly working with different business organizations. I work very closely on a daily basis with the Atlantic County Economic Alliance. And whatever is operative today may change. The situation may be different in a week. We're fortunate in this regard to be working with the Atlantic County Economic Alliance because I don't know if you're aware of it, but we have an advantage over a lot of other communities in that Lauren is a representative on the governor's recovery task force. So we do have that direct access to the governor's staff, in which we're taking advantage of that. And Lauren will go into a little detail on that shortly. What we're stressing here is that what we perceive is that we are responding to a new economy coming out of this. We believe that there'll be certain changes and there'll be certain challenges and there'll be certain opportunities, and we're positioning ourselves to take advantage of that. And one of the things I want to stress is that what we're doing at the research park, to start with that is stable. I mean, slowed down a little bit, but we have some opportunities coming that in terms of projects with the FAA, which Lauren will touch on to as part of the recovery strategy we put in place. And the other point I just want to stress, and this is one I really think we should drive home, is this is another wake-up call for Atlantic County, for this region. This is the 5th time in a little more than a decade that we've been hit over the head with a sledgehammer, effectively saying that if you don't broaden your economy, if you don't diversify your economy, that you're going to continually have to face these kind of challenges where an industry, the casino, gaming, tourism industry, has a setback, and you have to struggle to recover from that. We had the first one with Hurricane, in the 2008 recession, we had Hurricane Irene, we had Hurricane Sandy, we had 4 casino closures, and now we're dealing with this. So it is a challenge, and it's something that we got to stay on top of. One of the things we have done is we've worked on, with the ACA, an economic impact analysis. What we've been focused on is how is this going to impact the county? We have a good gauge on that. There have been several studies, but we commissioned our own through the ACEA. And we realized that we cannot stand here and accept a cookie cutter approach to any kind of assistance that will come out from the state or the federal government, because as we clearly demonstrate, we are more adversely impacted in most areas. And at the same time, we contribute a lot more to the state in terms of what we provide through the casino gaming revenue and also through tourism. And so they got to focus on the economic importance of our community and our area in deciding any kind of assistance package. With that, let me turn it over to Lauren, and you can just go into what you're working with the strategy, Lauren.
Sure. Thank you, Howard. Can everybody hear me? Yep. Okay, good.
Yes.
It's interesting that the governor just announced a 3-phase approach to reopening. We've started from the beginning with a 3-phase approach. Our first phase being, in the short term, working very closely with the governor's office on getting the emergency declaration and assessing the damage and researching and collecting information on the available programs. The second phase, I'm going to go a little bit into each of these. The second phase that we've focused on is the reopening phase, working with businesses to get them reopened. And then the third phase, which Howard talked a little bit about, is the recovery phase, looking for, the opportunities while we're working through the challenges, looking for the opportunities to help our economy recover in the long term, here. A couple things that I want to point out that we've been working on. We've been in constant contact on bi-weekly calls with the governor's office, staying abreast of new programs that are coming out and getting any questions that we have, answered. Just learned in preceding this meeting, we had our 3 o'clock call. It's Tim Sullivan from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, Deputy Chief of Staff Joe Kelly in the governor's office. And we just learned that the New Jersey Economic Development Authority is getting ready to launch a new $50 million small business assistance grant program. Everyone will recall the initial $5 million program was exhausted in about an hour. The state of New Jersey's made a decision to take a portion, $50 million of the CARES Act money that they got from the state, and they're creating a new program. It's a grant program, and they're going to broaden the eligibility criteria so that more businesses are eligible. Sole proprietors, LLCs, and businesses, that are larger than 10, which was one of the limits on the initial program. EDA is going to have a special board meeting at the end of the week. We participate in all EDA's board meetings. Towards the end of the week, we're going to have an emergency board meeting to put the criteria together and get this program started. And again, this was just recently announced, this week, that this new program is going to be available. I'm hopeful that everyone has seen the ads that we've been putting in the paper, has followed the recovery programs that we update on a daily basis on the website, that we continue to field hundreds of phone calls from the business community to link them to available assistance. To note here is that we have weekly calls with all of the chambers and the business associations: Atlantic City Chamber, Hamilton Chamber, Brigantine Chamber, Margate Business Association, Summers Point Business Association, and the Mays Landing Business Association. These calls have been very beneficial to stay in touch with everybody, make sure that we're all sharing information, and we're all pushing it out to the business community. There's a lot of organizations right now that are almost tripping over each other, pushing out information and overflow. We're being very, very careful not to do that, which is why we're working closely with the chambers. Howard also mentioned that I was fortunate enough, we worked hard, and I volunteered and got accepted to be on one of the governor's 9 advisory committee meetings. We've had 2 meetings already. These meetings are focusing on the safe reopening and are looking at best practices. What we've been doing, what I've been doing with my team in the chambers, is feeding the committee some of the best practices, for reopening, our economy. One of the things I want to focus on, I think we've all seen this, and Howard mentioned, a damage assessment report that we looked at. And we took a little different approach on this. The Atlantic City Metropolitan Statistical Area, which includes the entire county, according to the Brookings Institute, Oliver Cook from Stockton looked at this. We are the 3rd hardest hit region in the country. And we've been lobbying hard with state government, and we've also been lobbying hard with our federal delegation, our 2 U.S. senators, as well as Congressman Van Drew, to get a recovery package that's proportional to our income. Our economy is dependent, 60% of our economy is dependent on tourism and entertainment. It's twice the reliance than the state. And it's very important for us to get a package that's proportional to our impact here. And in fact, we've put together a recovery white paper to try to drive $10 to $25 million in federal stimulus into the Atlantic County economy to do research and development to get the aviation sector, which, as you know, has been a primary focus of ours, of health and safe airports. And we've gotten a great response from Congressman Van Drew's office, as well as Senator Booker's office, and they're continuing to lobby on our behalf with federal appropriations committees to get some assistance driven into the area. We've been working closely with our partners at the FAA and all of our research academic partners as well on this research package.
I think it's great, Lauren.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Thank you, Freeholder. I'm just continuing here to look at my notes because there's just so much going on, and so much.
Let me just help you out a little bit, Lauren, on that federal aid package. This is an example of where we are being bold. I mean, we are taking an aggressive step because we really believe it's doable because of the partners that we're working with, that we are going after, and we're putting in a request for a $25 million appropriation that would be funding research through the NARTP to the FAA. We are working with the National Institute of Aerospace on that possibility. We're working with another company out of Virginia on that. And the support we're getting not only from Senator Booker, but also Senator Menendez has been supportive of what we're trying to do. And we believe that based on what we're proposing on the Smarter Airport, Safer Airport initiative, the white paper Lauren referred to, that there is a credible project that they would be willing to look into for funding. And we were working, part of it, that project, we were working with a member of the NARTP board, David Sweet, who also was a retired Boeing executive who helped walk us through that project. So I know it's bold, but we're taking bold steps because these are challenging times and we're going to go after it.
Howard, I want to add to that we've also had close contact with Atlanticare because we want to have Atlanticare work with us to do biometric testing at the airport for temperatures, body language, and other physical metrics. And I spoke with Rick Lovering, the chief of staff at Atlanticare, very interested in working with us if we're able to get this grant funding driven into our region. The other thing, too, I want to add is we've read all 833 pages of the CARES Act, and we found a $1.5 billion fund there that may help us on funding the second building in the Aviation Tech Park. And we're working very closely with one of the 3 grant writers that we use, which is Triad Associates out of Vineland, to prepare an application to help us with funding on the second building. And the good news is that because of the desire and the need for us to diversify our economy, because we're so at risk with the heavy reliance on tourism and entertainment, that we may be able to bump this up to 80% funding through US EDA, 30% more than the usual 50% funding that they will apply to a project. So we've been working hard looking at these opportunities here, to continue to help us with financing a second building.
If I just make one important point of clarification too, is that some people have asked me, well, the aviation industry has had a setback. You may have read in the paper that expect air passenger transportation not to recover for another 2 to 3 years. I want to stress something. We are not, and we have never been involved in air passenger transportation. That is something that the SJTA has done. That's not what we're focused on. We're focused on aviation-related research, and research opportunities are going to continue to expand. I know there are projects that we have had discussions with the FAA locally regarding their support for electric propulsion flight. That's being moved ahead. We're looking at doing UAS work out of Cape May and also having designated air corridor lanes for testing in this area. That's a moving project. I want to also mention, as you are aware, back in August, the county, through the ACEA, we applied for a US EDA I-6 challenge grant, $1.7 million. We were awarded that grant. And one of that was one aspect of that was to accelerate smart airport and UAS technologies. And we started a first cohort of people, of small startup companies. 7 companies were selected for that purpose. 7 companies that, I think, how many applied, Lauren? I forget how many exactly applied.
Applied, and we collected 7.
We collected 7 strong startup companies. The idea is as these companies grow and they get supported through this grant, that they eventually will stay here. So we're also working on an academic research consortium. That slowed down a little bit because making contact with the different entities is a little challenging right now, which would bring together all of these different universities in the area that are involved in research. And the other thing to point out is that the board of the NARTP has now really grown. And on the board, we have Major General Mark Lubin, who's a retired U.S. Air Force general. He is also an American Airlines pilot. We have Dr. Douglas Stanley, who is a rocket engineer from the National Institute of Aerospace. He is now on our board. Dave Sweet, as I mentioned, retired Boeing executive, has joined. Recently, in the last 2 weeks, Dr. Tony Lohman, who is the Dean of Engineering at Rowan University, has come on the board. And Frank Lobiondo, who was head of the Aviation Subcommittee in the House, has now come on board. So we've really strengthened the board, and we're continuing at this point in time to stay in touch with our partners, keep our relationship strong, and be ready when this thing starts letting up to respond to any opportunity we see or any challenge and be prepared to take advantage of it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. That's it. Freeholder Gatto.
Not so much a question, just a comment or offer, I guess, to Howard and Lauren. With some of this federal funding that you're going after, if there's resolutions that we can do to, support the work that you're doing there, I'm just going to kind of volunteer the Budget and Administration Subcommittee to receive them, review them, and recommend them to the full board. So feel free to send them our way.
Thank you.
Happy to support.
we will need that in our efforts. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Freeholder. Any other Freeholder questions? Comments? Okay, anyone in the public wish to ask any questions of our panelists here?
No questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Howard, Lauren, appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Our first part of our printed agenda, ordinance number 4.
An ordinance amending the code of the County of Atlantic by repealing Chapter 86, Land Development, and substituting therefore a new Chapter 86 to be entitled Atlantic County Land Development Standards, and repealing Ordinance number 3 of 2002 and Ordinance number 3 of 2010, first reading.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. An ordinance in its first reading will welcome public comment 2 weeks from now. Any Freeholder questions? Okay, we'll call the roll, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino? Corsi?
No.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes. Moving on to resolutions. Grants 225.
Grant application and acceptance from the New Jersey Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services for a county opioid epidemic innovation project grant to be used to reopen the county recovery center and provide services to family members of opioid overdose death victims in the amount of $126,009.
Motion.
Moved and seconded. Any Freeholder questions or comments?
Chairman.
Freeholder Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that this is a really welcome addition to Atlantic County, or a reopening in Atlantic County. I've had a lot of positive feedback from people in the addiction world who are happy to see this happening. So I just wanted to say thanks for making this happen again. It's appreciated.
Thank you, Freeholder. Any other comments?
Chairman,
Freeholder Corsi.
Chairman, through you to the administrator, this 126,000, is that part of the federal grant, CDBG grant money that's going to be used towards this that Menendez and Booker sent down?
It's money was given to the state, and the state's giving it to us. I'm not sure if it's CARES money or not, quite truthfully. They as you know, the governor has had a plan to put money into substance abuse anyway. So I believe this is just straight of state money. It's a one-shot deal to reopen the recovery program.
No problem. I just was wondering where the funds was coming, but it was out of that pot of money. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I spoke with Chris McCumber, who runs the Hope All Day Recovery Center, and is actively working to make this hopefully get this grant and make it a reality. And he's got a whole team of volunteers ready and willing to go. So it's a lot of good energy around it. Good choice by the Wakata board to move forward in this direction.
Thank you, Freeholder. Any other Freeholder comments? Any public questions or comments on this resolution?
No questions.
Call the roll, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Corsi?
Yes.
Days?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Gatto?
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, 226, please.
Grant application to the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety for the Driving While Intoxicated Traffic Enforcement and Education Program, amount not to exceed $35,000.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Grant application. Any Freeholder comments? Public input?
No comments.
Please call the roll.
Yes.
Patino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes. 227, please.
Amended grant application and acceptance from the United States Department of Health and Human Services for the Medicare Advance Payment Grant to be used to cover costs related to COVID-19 at Meadowview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Funded amount, $174,302.94.
Motion.
Moved and seconded. Freeholder comments, please. Public input. We'll call the roll.
No
Bennett,
Yeah.
Patino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley, and Formica.
Yes. All right, we have chapter 159, so I'll take a motion to combine and adopt 228 to 232, please.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll call the roll.
Yes.
Patino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes. 233, please.
Amended professional services agreement with Mazer Consulting PA for the provision of material testing services for various infrastructure projects to extend the term date only, no additional costs.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A resolution extending a term date only, no additional cost. Any Freeholder comments? Anyone in the public wish to comment?
No questions.
Call the roll, please.
Bennett,
Yeah.
Patino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto. I'm sorry, Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes. Okay, bid contract 234.
Bid renewal contract with Northeast Electrical Services for one additional year, amount not to exceed $123,400.
Motion.
Moved and seconded. Any Freeholder concern with this contract? Any public input?
No questions.
Please call the roll.
Yeah.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days, Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes. Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes. Change orders 235.
Change order number one, contract with Thomas Company Incorporated for the proposed roof replacement at the Atlantic County Justice Facility. Net increase $350,000.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Jerry, you want to give us a brief description here of why this change order is so necessary?
Yes, Chairman and freeholders. The Thomas Roofing went out and they started doing the main jail roof. They got about 35% complete, and then they hit an entire section of rotted metal decking, which was underneath of the roof. In addition to that, we right away stopped and had our architect engineer go out and verify. They measured the remaining section. This is a month ago. This is back in March. They've come up with a total of almost 21,000 square feet of completely rotted decking that has to be replaced. So it's sight unseen, it's change contract, change sites contract. This is the maximum that'll be not to exceed 350,000. That also includes electrical conduit that was run directly under the roof decking, which was cut. It was installed when it was built, and unfortunately, they hit that several times, and that's also included in this figure.
Okay, thank you. So this was, for lack of better description, this was unforeseen damage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And also maybe a little bit of surprising design, having a conduit under metal decking doesn't sound too good either.
I'm being told that was the code back when the building was built, and it's since changed. So they're locating the new electrical conduit several inches lower, of course.
Thank you. Any other Freeholder comments or questions?
Oh, yeah, Chairman, I have a question.
You have all your time to use. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why you try to beat me to the point, but I was going to ask the question anyway.
No, not me.
I'm a little concerned because, first of all, that is kind of high, $350,000. The $2.1 million contract for the facility. How old is the Atlantic County Justice Facility?
Bob? I believe 1982.
Because I can hear you.
The original roof, about 1982.
I think it's 85.
So I'm almost 40 years old.
Okay. I guess my other question would be, are they sure that that would be the end of where they have found bad roofing for $350,000 since they abruptly found it? That's my other concern was when they bid it on it, they didn't take a good look at the roof.
You can't see under the roof material to look at the.
You bid on something that you can't see. You bid on what on the bid.
This is a site that was unforeseen. I mean, you can't see it till you tear the roofing off. We have a price of $15 per square foot, not to exceed the 20,000 square feet. That's the maximum. And it looks like we're going to end up replacing all of that, but we'll see. But it won't be any more.
Almost all of it in this 350,000.
Yes, sir. This accounts that figure 350,000 accounts for the 20,000. I believe 600. The lower area of the jail. Let's see, 20,775 square feet. That's the remaining roof that needs to be replaced. So if they have to replace all the decking, that's what the figure will be. Electrical come in at 38,000 maximum, not to exceed.
I'm not going to beat the dead horse to death. I'm not going to support it anyway. But I guess my question is, you said 350 would take the whole roof, or the 350 is for the whole roof?
350,000 is for the remaining rock metal decking that's under the roof. It has to be tore up and replaced, including the electrical repairs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder. Any other Freeholder comments, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just like to add.
Freeholder Risley.
I'd like to add that we did discuss this in the Budget Committee extensively, and we need to move forward on this. We don't want to create a mold problem by not acting on this. So it was described in detail, and I'm satisfied that we need to go forward with this.
Thank you, Freeholder. Any other Freeholder comments?
I don't think I was questioning the work of the Budget Committee. It was just a comment, and I'm not saying that the work should stop. It's just that y'all know how I am about change orders. And if for some reason or another, it is unfortunate that my colleagues don't see it fit sometimes to question all these unnecessary change orders when folks go out to bid, because the lowest bidder becomes the highest bidder. And since some of you don't think it's worthy to ask the questions and you just rubber stamp it, it's fine. It needs to be done. That's fine, but I still have a right to ask the question.
Chairman.
Just 1 second. Freeholder, I agree with you. And we've had many situations like this. So you can remember on Old Egg Harbor Road, we were paving a road and found that we had to do $1 million worth of repair next to Walmart because we didn't dig down and know about a culvert that had busted. So maybe we can look at, when we do a roof this big next time, dig underneath to see what the planking looks like. So it's a good comment on what I'm trying to say. Legato?
I just want to say I don't think it's fair to say that any freeholders are rubber stamping, all due respect to Freeholder Corsi. I mean, we did discuss it in the budget committee meeting. Unfortunately, you weren't able to make it there, but I mean, we were asking questions and having discussion there. So I don't think it's fair to say that there's been no discussion. Thanks.
Again, I'm not to sit there and debate my chair of the Revenue and Finance Committee, but we're certainly entitled to our own opinions. And no, I did not make that meeting. Most things I do support in the committee. I just thought that if in fact you put out this kind of bid, they should have done a better job detailing stuff that they were bidding on. Every time you go and do an additional change order, that's additional money that the taxpayers have to pay that's unforeseen. I would agree with our chairman. Certainly when we did the Walmart and the pipes in the ground collapsed, it was $500,000 or so. I get that. That stuff happens. But when you're bidding on facilities like this, I think it ought to be a little bit more detailed into it. And I do not take back my comments when I talk in terms of rubber stamping things, because some things go right through here quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Okay, any other freeholder comments? Anyone in the public wish to make comment on this?
No comments.
Please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yeah.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
I don't like Amy's comment. I'm going to vote yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes, especially because Corsi voted yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes, change order number 236, rather.
Change order number 2, contract with AE Stone Incorporated for roadway improvements to 6th Avenue, sections 1B and 1C in the township of Galloway. Net increase $143,554.31.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Okay. Zari, would you like to give us just the reason for this increase at 14% or 10%, whatever it is?
I believe John is on. I asked John and he presented it to the budget subcommittee.
John?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, very good.
Okay. Mark Shorts, the county engineer, is on. I'm going to let him do most of the detail on this because he was much more closely involved with the actual work. But I hate to use that term, unforeseen circumstances, but there was a lot of drainage conflicts that were unforeseen. There was additional work, and there was a winter shutdown in between as well. And with that, we had increase, but we also had decrease based on cost of asphalt. And I'll turn it over to Mark to let him give the more detailed on the drainage information if the freeholder board so chooses.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Good evening, board. And
some of the major items were with regard to the drainage, as John pointed out. We had some storm sewer pipe that was left in 6th Avenue after the base was built on Jimmy Leeds Road. Corrugated metal pipe, and it started to deteriorate. That was pipe that was abandoned in place during the time of that prior project, long before my time, and it wasn't even reflected on the plans. In order to remove that pipe, we had to fill it and increase the base paving in that area, basically restoring the road over the pipe trench. So there was some substantial costs, and they're listed in the supplemental items. There's about $50,000 worth of supplemental items, all, mostly related to drainage in this increase. Another one of the major factors is a factor that we've been dealing with, and not just in Atlantic County. This is a statewide issue. This is an issue that has been brought before in Trenton. There are actually bills that are being looked at with regard to the costs related to police costs for traffic control. Facing a situation where we have a traffic signal that had to be dealt with and the shutdown of the road during the construction on 6th Avenue, the good deal of police hours. They're hard to estimate. It's hard to determine what police are going to be needed on a job. This particular job, the increase was about $81,000 over what it is that we estimated. That's the price not only for additional hours, but also for costs that the state will not cover. This is a state-funded job. It's a $1.35 million job. As was stated, it's about a 10% increase on this job. So well within a typical project for us where we've added improvements. There's no way we could have left that pipe in the ground, for instance, because that would have been a major problem down the road when that started to collapse. Additionally, 6th Avenue has had its issues with regard to drainage and residents complaining. We cleaned up some ditches. We added some riprap where we needed it to control some erosion. And between the time when we surveyed the job and put it out to bid, which, as you might recall, 2 years ago, we had a delay in all projects. There were some additional driveways that were added because of some construction along Jimmy Leeds Road. So those were other costs that were added to this job. John pointed out there were some deducts in that the fuel adjustment price actually saved us about $50,000 on this job. So overall, the reflection on this job is about a 10% increase, good deal of it due to police costs, which hopefully we are going to deal with on a statewide basis. And just so everybody knows, this was a state-funded job. So with the exception of the overrun on the police, and that is the hour differential, we will be getting that money back from the state.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions, Freeholders? Anyone in the public wish to speak to this? Call the roll, please.
Bennett?
Yes.
Bertino?
Yes.
Coursey?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Yes.
Kern?
Yes.
Risley?
Yes.
And Formica.
Yes, moving on to 237.
Extraordinary unspecifiable contract with Insurance Agencies Incorporated to purchase a policy which will reduce the named storm wind deductible amount not to exceed $33,168.83.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further input on this resolution? Any public wish to comment?
No questions.
Please call the roll.
Yes.
Martino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes. Okay. 239.
I
On 238?
238, yes.
238.
Extraordinary unspecifiable services contract with Panaris Technologies for workforce development consulting services, amount not to exceed $43,680.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any freeholder concerns?
No, Chairman, this is another one we discussed in committee and we were all in agreement.
Thank you. Any other freeholder comments? Any public questions?
Bringing the grand total to 42. And for Ocean County, 10 new deaths, bringing the grand total to 643.
Public questions?
No question.
No.
Please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Martino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes. 239, please.
Amending Resolution Number 266, adopted April 30th, 2019, agreement with Cersei Dynex to include the cost of subscription services. Net increase $29,152.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right. Freeholder concerns with this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, just one.
Freeholder Bertino?
Just what the subscription service is.
The subscription service is for our mobile app at the library for access to various resources that you can get when you have that app. Jerry, let me know if I misquoted that.
That's the next one. This one here, the Cersei Dynex maintenance. That's your subscription. The one that you're asking for, Freeholder Bertino, is the entire system that they use for people that want to take out books when they return books.
Oh yeah.
To take out the DVDs. You name magazines, whatever you do in the library is handled through this system.
That's our operating system.
That's your operating system, correct? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns? Freeholders? Any public input here?
No questions.
Please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Martino, you
Corsi,
voting?
Yes, twice.
Corsi,
Once, yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes. 240, please.
Alternate method contract with Cersei Dynex for use of Blue Cloud mobile application services, amount not to exceed $9,849.72.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Freeholder questions on this resolution? Any public questions on this resolution?
No questions.
Call the roll, please.
Yes.
Martino,
Yes.
Corsi, Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
Horsey, and Formica.
Yes. 241.
Alternate method contract with
Chairman,
Acela.
before she moves on, can you hear me?
You now can.
You can. It keeps blanking out. I don't know what's wrong with it, but
Somebody
that was a
keeps
yes
muting
vote.
you. It's interference.
I know you were trying to get rid of me, Chairman, but that was a yes vote.
Okay, good. 241.
Alternate method contract with Acela Incorporated for software licensing and maintenance amount not to exceed $26,185.89.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any freeholder input here? Any public questions here?
No questions.
Call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Pino,
Yes.
Horsey,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes, 242, please.
Acceptance of deeds, easements from various grantors in accordance with Atlantic County planning standards, no cost.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. If there's no cost resolution, any freeholder comments? Any public questions?
No questions.
Please call the roll.
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
No course. Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley, and Formica.
Yes. 243.
Resolution requesting permission to convert a pre-existing snow removal reserve to storm recovery reserve in accordance with NJSA 48:4-62.1.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Freeholder question to this resolution? Public questions to this resolution?
No questions.
Chairman.
Please call the roll. Oh, excuse me. We got him?
Yeah, just wanted to make one point. Again, we discussed this in the budget committee. This is a little bit of shifting of monies to help with coronavirus response and expense. And the idea would be that once we get some refunds from various other sources for coronavirus response, that we would replenish that if we do use it. It's just kind of a just in case move around, and everything would be replenished as needed once we do get some other sources of funding.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other freeholder comments? Any public input?
No comments.
Please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes, 244.
Agreement with Stockton University School of Social and Behavioral Sciences for an internship program with various Atlantic County departments, no cost.
Motion.
Moved and seconded. No cost resolution. Any freeholder input? Any public questions or comments?
No questions.
Please call the roll.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto, Gatto, Kern,
Yes.
Risley, and Formica.
Yes. 245.
Reappointment of Michael Brennan, Jim Eden, Michael Fedorko, Ken Mosca, and Joe Santagata to the Atlantic County Emergency Management Advisory Board for terms expire on May 1, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any question on the Freeholder Board to any of these appointments? Any public input on any one of these appointments?
No comments.
Call the roll.
Yeah.
Patino,
Yes.
Corsi,
Yes.
Days,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Gatto,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Risley,
Yes.
and Formica.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to the end of our printed agenda. Felt like running through mud to me. I don't know about you guys, but it moved a little sluggishly in my brain. Any reports of committees, special committees we want to report today? Seeing none. Any unfinished business? Seeing none. Any new business? Seeing none. Anyone want to comment on any correspondence today? Seeing none.
Chairman?
Freeholder Fitzpatrick.
Yes. We received a letter from an attorney, a law firm regarding hazard pay for the correction officers in the jail. Do we have any comments about that? Does the administration?
Well, I did read through this and, I'm sure that Mr. Ferguson is on top of this. Jerry, do you have any comments at this moment concerning this particular inquiry? Mr. Ferguson is appearing in pan. Unmute yourself, Eric James.
Yeah, a couple of comments on this. I've discussed this with the department head of public safety, Mr. Fedorko, who doesn't feel that this is warranted. Also, at one time, back in 2006 and contracts prior to that, this union had a provision in its contract for what was called hazardous duty pay. And that was paid as a stipend, a lump sum stipend toward the end of the year. I think it was in November. The union, as part of a long contract negotiation that actually went to interest arbitration, and then the matter was eventually settled. Part of that particular agreement was that amount of money that they would get would be rolled in to each step of the salary guide. I think it was $1,350, and then it became pensionable, whereas before with a stipend it wasn't. In return for that, the hazardous duty language was removed from the contract. So this was a bargain for provision that the union wanted at that particular time. They got, okay, and we just don't think under the circumstances it's warranted. And the other thing is, where does it stop? We're going to give hazardous duty pay to corrections officers. What sheriff's officers are then going to come along and say, well, we have to deal with inmates when we transport them. What about the people that work at the nursing home who are on the front lines of this COVID thing? The administration's position is, where does it stop? And there won't be any stoppage to it. We're in difficult times. We don't know what the tax collection rates in all of these municipalities are going to be, what additional costs we're going to face from this COVID-19. So under the circumstances, it's our position that in the times in which we live, This is not warranted. And I believe when I had conversations, and Mike Fedorko, if he's still there, can correct me if I'm wrong, has indicated that this is part of what these guys go through when they train, that they're going to meet up with circumstances that are out of the ordinary. That's part of their training. That's part of what they go through. And I'm not minimizing the job that corrections officers do. Believe me, they work in a tough environment. It's tough on a normal basis. But, you know, that's in essence what they signed up for. So under the circumstances, the administration just doesn't feel that this is warranted. That's our position.
Okay, thank you very much. Freeholder? Any other Freeholder comments on anything we received?
Just one comment, Chairman, if I could.
Yeah, sure.
In the second letter that was sent to us, they quote the fact that Atlantic County is going to get roughly $9 million. I'm not sure where they got that number, but the county government is not eligible for that kind of money. So I just want to make sure that the board understands that we're not eligible for $46.9 million.
Okay, thank you very much. And just keep us posted on where this goes, which I'm sure it'll litigate. And, okay.
Chairman?
Yes, Freeholder Corsi.
Through you to Jerry. Jerry, we're getting a lot of complaints at City Hall regarding folks can't, and I'm sure my colleagues have too, folks still can't get through to file unemployment. It's not a county issue, but do we have a direct number or something we can give? Because people can't get through, whether it's one stop or wherever, to try to file their unemployment. A food giveaway was on Beta Field last Thursday. At least 2 or 3 people walked up and said it's been 7, 8 weeks. They have not been able to log on. And we know the system's screwed up, but that's a long time not to be able to at least make your claim.
The only thing I can say is when we get the phone calls here, I give them to our Workforce Development Board director, and then he talks or he speaks with the woman who is handling those phone calls for unemployment for the state.
Jerry, can I call you tomorrow and get a number? Because then I won't have to bug you. I can call that person directly and see if they can help these people, because that is unacceptable. Nobody wants to be able to not have.
That's fine.
They still want to go to the store and buy stuff, etc. Are still standing in every soup line that's giving up a freebie, and they certainly entitled to these benefits. I don't need to call and bug you every 5 minutes. If I could call you tomorrow and get a number,
that's fine.
I don't know if my other colleagues are receiving some of the same complaints.
I just want you to know that it doesn't necessarily resolve the problem. At least they'll go look at it anyway. That's the most important thing. Right?
That's correct.
Thank you, Freeholder. And that is a frequently asked question of all of us and some of our family members as well. And it is unfortunate. Okay, anything else in written communications that we wish to discuss? Seeing none, we'll open it up to anyone in the public online tonight that wants to make a comment at the meeting. Please feel free to do so.
Where's Creek Poe at?
I'm sorry?
Where's Creed
Donald
at?
Campbell he says, I have one comment, but he hasn't typed anything in yet.
Well, we need a different medium to understand it then.
I don't know if he knows to make the comment in writing there, so if he doesn't, hopefully.
Who is it that's making the comment?
Donald Campbell.
Donald Campbell.
Oh, I thought you said Creed Pogue. I'm sorry. Because he knows. Okay, I'm sorry.
That was me asking. Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting on that comment, is there any other comments? I want to make a comment.
Well, let's see if this person can get a comment in first. Go ahead, Freeholder. What's your comment?
Chairman, just want to say that most of you have seen the Atlantic City residents came out loud and clear and voted absolutely against the change of government, especially when it dealt with outside entities who wanted to come in and dictate what should happen in and around Atlantic City. And the voters of Atlantic City has spoke loud and clear. Once again, as Atlantic County did a couple years ago against casino gambling outside of Atlantic City, and some of those same rascals who are supporting the gambling outside of Atlantic City with some of the same scoundrels that were involved in the change of government in Atlantic City. But once again, they got their behind spanked, probably to a 4-1 margin. You know, you might not like your council person, you might not like your mayor, but I don't know any municipality that would not like to go to the polls and elect their elected officials. It certainly was a wake-up call, I would hope, to the elected officials in Atlantic City anyway, that just because it was a little over 5,000 no votes, there was still 1444 yes votes. And so what happens is that it tells you that there's some disgruntled people out there, no matter what you do or say, especially when you're a public official. I think that to say, when you look at the Bob McDevitt and the Ray Lesniaks and them of the world who have put so much $500,000 to change the form of government in Atlantic City, and they were able to get 1444 votes to vote yes to change it. The point I'm making is they got over 3,000 signatures to put it on the ballot, but they couldn't get 1,500 yes votes, for the referendum. It tells you that one thing about Atlantic City, they fight. It's a good fight when it's time to fight. Again, we might not always agree politically, but they don't need outsiders continue to come in to try to tell us what we should not do. And listen, it wasn't just the outsiders. We got some of them rascals and scoundrels right around here in Atlantic County who were supporting the referendum behind the scenes. But be as it may, the message is clear. The voters spoke. It's time to govern. It's time to move forward. As all of you know, the primary in Atlantic County and in the state of New Jersey is moved to July 7th. So I'm sure the county, the city, and everybody else, not just Atlantic City, will continue to get calls and questions about ballots being mailed out. And I believe, Chairman, they go out at the end of the month. And that's when the election starts, whether it's in Atlantic City, Pleasantville, wherever. Folks have to understand that you're not going to the poll. You have to fill out your ballot, put it in the mail. As some of my colleagues have been saying for a while, they are now self-addressed postage on the envelopes, so it's no real big lift. But I'm certainly proud of the amount of people who took the time out to fill out ballots. I've been voting a long time, not as long as Frank Formica, but a long time, and that's the first time I ever voted by absentee ballot. It's interesting going forward. Presidential election coming up, etc. We urge people to get involved because we don't know when you're going to go back to a polling place. But I just wanted to make that comment that people in Atlantic City spoke loud, and we know who some of those scoundrels are that was working behind the scene, act like they were for not changing the form of government, but they were for it. But we know who they are.
Well, I'm glad you got that under control, Freeholder. And
it was under control. I just said.
Well, I'm glad you know who they are, the scoundrels. Just saying,
some of those scoundrels
like they spent $500,000 to get 1,400 votes or something, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
They spent it on the wrong guy.
I'm glad you woke up.
And I certainly do know the out-of-town scoundrels. So it was, anyway. Did we get that person in the public that wanted to ask a question?
Chairman, he said, never mind.
Well, by all means, if he wants to text somebody, we want to hear him. Okay, if he said never mind, never mind. Okay.
I did ask him to type his question, and he said, never mind.
All right, well, do you have his number? We'll call him later or something. Okay. All right. We'll then end the public comment portion of the meeting, and we'll have something for the good of the order.
Chairman.
Freeholder Gatto.
Thank you, sir. Just with the Memorial Day holiday coming up, I'm sure most people realize that Memorial Day services are not really going to be able to be done. They may be done in small groups and streamed in some places. I know Atlantic Counties has formally been canceled, but I do want to invite everybody to our YouTube channel, the Atlantic County YouTube channel. County administration prepared a really nice Memorial Day video so that we do have a chance to take a few minutes to reflect on what the day means, and it highlights some of the comments from some of our previous Memorial Day speakers. So just want to urge everybody to head out to our YouTube channel and check that out, and wish everybody a really happy and safe Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you. Anyone else for the good of the order? Well, I would just like to say that certainly in Memorial, there's a lot of events that we're missing because of the restrictions put on everybody. From all the graduations, I mean, it's nice that they put the lawn signs up. It's nice that we acknowledge, but unfortunately, all the children missing their once-in-a-lifetime high school prom or once-in-a-lifetime high school commencement, college, and all that, it takes its toll psychologically on a community. And for the past several weeks, as we've all listened to the governor's updates and governors from other states, and certainly certain people connected with the governor, like Freeholder Corsi, may be a little closer to it. They keep trying to make excuses as to why the small businessman cannot open his store to sell babies' clothes, refrigerators, things that you can normally buy that you can buy at a dollar store because they have a refrigerator full of milk and eggs. You can't go get the same clothes at Linwood Central Square, Ventnor, Mays Landing, Egg Harbor Township. It's ridiculous. And I think that I just want to express myself saying that in all of the explanations of what they're doing to keep people safe and what they're trying to come up with, every government at every level has left out one particular factor: the ingenuity of the American business person. And I think that if you can go to Target and wait in line, with 100 people, or Home Depot, and they call that safe social distancing, I'm sure somebody at Central Square or Ventnor or Egg Harbor Township or Hamilton Strip Mall can do the same thing. So I'm just encouraging people that are listening to this to reach out to everybody to maybe get to this governor's task force to get our small businesses open, because after Memorial Day, which we just talked about how reverent it is, into June, a lot of these businesses ain't coming back.
Chairman, let me just weigh in on that, because I knew you were biting at the bit to take a shot at the governor again.
I did not take a shot at the governor.
Oh, it's exactly what y'all doing.
not.
What's happening is that the issue, the ordinance or the order comes from the state of New Jersey through the governor's office, et cetera, which I would agree with you on probably 90% of what you said. And I know we all have some issues, because not just you as a businessman, but people in business in general complaining about the curbside services they're not able to get. It boggles me as well, because while I'm on this freeholder meeting, we're doing a conference call with the governor's people now, talk about opening other businesses around the state. And some of them same comments you just made regarding businesses, some of the mayors are raising that issue with the governor's office as we speak. And so what happens is, kind of see, how you tell me that, and I use this for example, that Boscov's has to close, but Target's open. I don't get it. Acme's open. What's this other place? ShopRite. but then you close a lot of other businesses. I would agree. If they don't get these people open within the next week or two, there'll be a lot of businesses that will never open again. That's more people on unemployment. That's more folks that lose their houses. That's less people be paying their taxes. And that is a reflection back on as a whole, not just the state of New Jersey. I think we all would agree something has to happen, and what's happening. Some things need to move a little bit quicker than others. I'm not concerned about the joker that's going out to play on the golf course, but I am concerned about the person that works in a restaurant or other stores that have not been open where more massive people are going. So I don't think your comments are far-fetched and out of the way. I just think that they need to move a little bit quicker in terms of getting more stuff open and not piecemeal a lot of stuff. In Atlantic City, for example, we got to get these casinos open. Today they announced they're taking reservation, but when is the opening date? Some people say it's June 15th. We don't know that for sure. Gary's probably been on more conference and Zoom calls across the state of New Jersey regarding multitude of things just in Atlantic County, and we hear those complaints up and down the state of New Jersey. So it is incumbent upon the governor and all our elected officials to come together to make this a little bit more expedient. And yet, be careful because if we open up too fast, we could increase it. It is unfortunate that we're in untreaded waters that we've never been in before.
Okay, Freeholder. Anybody else? Something for the good of the order?
For Chairman, just one more thing about the reopening. I've also heard from vendors and store owners at Central Square, and it really doesn't make any sense to me that small boutique stores that normally only have 2 customers in them at a time can't be open. So that's something that I've put forth to any of the people that I know in Trenton.
Thank you, Brad. That's exactly the point. And if small stores were able to get their regular customers back, it would take the load off the big box stores and actually help the social distancing. I don't know. Just wanted to put it on the record. Thank you, Freeholder, for your comment. Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good day.